Hello. In this video, I want to illustrate for you how our impulse, which we've previously defined as the integral of your force F times dt, can also be found using the average force times delta t, the change in time. What this means is that if you have a non-constant force, or even a constant force, you can find delta F, your average force, and multiply that you can find your average force and multiply that by delta t to find your answer instead of having to do an integral. For some of you, this may be something you're already familiar with, or that you already understand, or that you feel comfortable with. In that case, you can move on to the next video. For anyone for whom this is a new concept, I'd encourage you to watch the explanation that follows. So first, let's talk about how we define an average force. An average force equals, by definition, the integral of your force, F, times dt, divided by your total change in time. In a case when you're going from 0 to delta t, it will be your upper limit, delta t. So now let's multiply both sides by delta t. What you get is average force times delta t, which is what we have up here, equals an integral of F, your force, dt. I assume this is familiar to you because it's exactly what's listed above, and in fact, this equals impulse. If this is still unclear, let me illustrate through an example. So let's assume we have a force F, and that it exerts 1 Newton of force for a time period of 2 seconds, delta t, and after 2 seconds, the force gets stronger, and it exerts 3 Newtons of force over the course of the following 2 seconds. So intuitively we can see that our average force, F average, equals 2 Newtons, and that it's over a time period of 4 seconds. So the first thing we can do is traditionally compute the impulse of each of these force periods and add them together. So J, the impulse, equals 1n times 2 seconds, which is our F1, so to speak, plus 3 Newtons times 2 seconds, which is our F2, again, so to speak, and that equals 2 plus 6, which is 8 Newtons times seconds. Now using our new formula, we can take our F average and say that J equals F average times delta t. And our result here is 2 Newtons times 4 seconds, or 8 Newtons times seconds, the exact same result. The takeaway here is that you can now use the average force times delta t instead of having to take an integral, and it can help you in certain situations. And in fact, the next video is an example that shows you a certain situation where taking the average force can make things easier.